took your favorite game and made a movie so bad you had to spew. What's a nerd to do? Well, listen to 8-Bit Movie Review with Josh and Andrew. It's 8-Bit Movie Review.
Welcome back, gamers! I am Andrew Gonzalez,
And I'm Josh Edgington.
and this is 8-Bit Movie Review, the podcast where we watch and discuss movies in series based on video games.
Wow, you
And-
finally practiced that.
Only about 90-something episodes, I was finally able to get it down.
Mhm.
And as we discussed last week, every Tuesday, and that's why you're here, we are discussing HBO's The Last of Us. And today we're discussing episode 2, Infected.
Yes, we're in episode 2 of the HBO series The Last of Us. Episode 1, we got our heartbreaking epilogue like we did in the game. We see a little bit of current life in the QZ and the crazy shit that survivors have to go through to get
Oh, yeah.
meager meal rations. Then we meager. Then we basically we found out our mission, which is to smuggle Ellie out of the city so she can meet up with some fireflies and see Joel just actually absolutely fucking crush some dude's head with his bare fists, and then they venture their way into an unsafe zone, which is downtown Boston. And that's where this episode picks up.
And that is where we are from, everyone. Well, not Boston in particular, but if you don't know us and you're watching the show, we are from Massachusetts, baby. So, playing the game in general, this was amazing to see, and then seeing the sets of this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where, when people are like, "Hey, where are you from?" You're not like, "I'm from Tewksbury." Just say you're from Boston.
Yeah.
That's what I always used to do if I'm like, yeah, I live in Boston. They're like,
only
oh, okay,
if you're
that's cool.
only if you're talking to people outside of Massachusetts, because if you say you're
Yeah.
from Boston, talking to someone from Boston, and you say you're from Tewksbury, they'll be pissed. I don't know. I've done that before, and it doesn't go well. Before we get started, I also want to say, if you haven't played the game, we're not going to go into major future spoilers of the game. We're mainly going to be going into spoilers that are in the game that pertain to the episode. So we'll be doing that each episode. So if you plan on playing the game and don't want major spoilers, maybe play the game first, but we're not going to ruin anything that's going to happen in part 2 or any future episodes, but we will be as the show goes along.
Yes, we will be comparing how different the show and the game is.
That's what we do,
To
baby.
the best of our knowledge, and that's why we have our good friend Joe D in the chat to keep us honest. He is
Yell at
also
us,
a
Joe.
connoisseur of The Last of Us, so if we get something wrong, he will probably report us and we'll be banned off Twitch.
Future guest.
Absolutely.
So this episode aired on January 22nd, 2023, was directorial debut by Neil Druckmann, a first live action movie he has directed, because he's definitely directed some video games. And this is written by Craig Mazin, working directly with Neil Druckmann.
Yep.
So,
and it showed in this episode. We'll get into it, but there's a lot of very accurate locales, shot for shot remakes of scenes in particular, with the exact dialogue, exact cinematography. It was, this is episode 2, and already I'm like, this is doing this series justice.
And from what you said last week, I forgot that Craig Mazin created Chernobyl, but he didn't direct it. He might have directed a couple episodes.
Mhm.
So, and you definitely see, if you've seen Chernobyl, you could definitely feel those vibes that you had watching that in this. Especially in the first scene we get, where are they? Jakarta,
Indonesia.
which I thought was a nice touch, because, well, the nice touch was in episode 1 we hear them talking about shit going down in Jakarta, and Joel's like, "What's Jakarta?" And then it just kind of like brushes over it.
Yep. Yeah, I think that what the show series is doing well is filling in the gaps that the game couldn't focus on. We couldn't focus on, we might have heard a radio or you see like a paper clip in the epilogue about like things happening, crazy things happening, but never just like Jakarta, Indonesia. This is where it starts. The first like actual proof that the cordyceps can live in humans, can be spread via, bite, and someone being like, yeah, there's nothing to do, just fucking start bombing everywhere. Like, sorry to say it, but just start bombing.
And in the acting direction in this, like was it Mycos Kyologist, the woman they had play the scientist. I'm fucking up whatever her actual
Poor woman, she's listening
science
to
that
this
she
right
is.
now, and you
Yeah,
can't
well,
even say her name.
but like the acting choices in this is definitely directed, because when they talk about how the parasite usually parasite what would be the fungus doesn't
Fungus, yeah.
affect humans, and just the slight smile she gave to be like, no, this isn't a human blood cell, what are you talking about, like just the slight notion of that like was good. And especially when she hears about 14 people missing, just the shakes of her hand, like I feel like the acting in this is amazing. They got everybody giving their A game on this.
Yep.
And I love maybe I don't like it as much because it creeps me out. But when she took the shit out of the mouth and it's like moving, and
Like it was stretching towards her,
yeah,
and then you could still see it growing out of the corpse's mouth, like, because that's what it does. And I love that change that they're making, and they also explain a little more is that it's a living organism that's just always trying to spread no matter the distance, because it's a real thing. They found that, I think, in the rainforest or something, that they found a like a thing of mushroom fungus that went like thousands of miles interconnected above and underground. So this is something in real life that could
yeah,
happen.
and it's really cool. Like, if you watch the show, you obviously saw there's a little bit behind the scenes where Craig Mazin's talking, how him and Neil Druckmann have been doing like a lot of their homework. And I'm not saying Neil Druckmann probably didn't do his homework when he wrote The Last of Us, but he probably brushed through and just had this story idea where they decided, this works a little bit better than the spores. And I think also, come on, the actors don't want to wear gas masks for like
No,
every single,
they can't do that. You can't get Pedro Pascal and then put him under a mask. The Mandalorian barely pulled that off,
yeah.
but he was
And
so good at acting that he could wear a fucking helmet, and the show was still successful.
yep. Well, I heard in season 3 he's barely in it because he was busy filming The Last of Us.
Yeah.
His stunt one of his stunt guys was complaining about it on Twitter and stuff like that, and it's like, well, dude, yeah, he's posting things being like, I'm the real Mandalorian. It's like, yeah, but your voice ain't shit, so sorry.
Like, you don't get paid like him though, bitch.
Yeah, and Pedro Pascal's killing it. He's killing it in this role. I'm so happy they casted him. I know there was a lot of doubts before, but like, he's just so fucking good.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he's doing a fantastic job, and this episode gave me more of Bella Ramsey, so I also agree she's knocking it out of the park at this point. The only thing I'll say is that I feel like in the game when they first met, Joel like just hated Ellie and the idea of having to be around a young kid. And that's why it was such a journey for him to come around to her eventually. Where in this show, he just kind of seems a bit like almost inconvenienced. But like, I don't know, it doesn't seem like he's gonna have as much emotionally to travel, as we get to where they're like friends. But I don't know. It's still that's like the most minor of nitpick whatsoever. And this is still a fantastic episode, even
Yeah.
without those little things.
But and it kind of seems because I've been replaying the game a little bit, and though yes, they're putting Ellie being naive. I did think Ellie trusted Joel pretty quickly in the game, where she was very like oh yeah, like when as soon as she was handed over to them, she was like all about Joel. Where in this, she is also kind of hesitant to trust him, and like she trusts Tess a little bit more. I can tell, like Tess is actually a little nice to her, a little bit more nice as she can be. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But and so we get more of this. We get more of this. In like after the Jakarta scene, I really like this scene again. The sets, she's sleeping in moss in like a broken down building,
Yeah, and
and
and everyone else just does not trust that she will not turn, so they're just, I guess we'll stay awake all night.
I think they're pushing that a little bit more than the game too. Like I like that they're just she's like getting up, looking, and then you hear a click from the background, and it's just like the rattle of one of them moving, and they're just both just staring at her, and I thought that was great.
Yeah, I mean, if you've been in this for 20 years, you like they go into it once Ellie gives them the plan, which is, go out west, and they're making a cure out there. And obviously, as a person that probably survived it for 20 years, you probably heard that 100 times. You probably already heard there was someone that was immune, and then eventually that person just turned. Maybe it just was super slow. So that's probably their mindset is this, yeah, she's going to turn. I don't give a shit if it's been a day or 2 days or even 3 weeks, like she said. She is going to turn at some point, and we need to be prepared for that.
Yeah, I agree, Josh.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I also liked the difference between the food that they were able to eat.
Oh my god.
It's so fucked up. Joel and Tess just have like the most dry ass beef jerky, and Ellie just has like a giant chicken sandwich.
She didn't even offer to share. Well, they probably wouldn't want to share anyway because
I That's what I was thinking. It was like, if we knew that grains and wheat spread this like cordyceps and fungus, and that's how it started, why would you ever eat bread again?
well, she can. It'd be fine.
No, I know Ellie can, but I'd be like, no, 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 I'll just eat my beef jerky. I don't
Just
want to
like
eat your
Jody
bread.
in the chat just mentioned, he is eating beef jerky right now. He did tell
Well,
me that
he's playing it safe. He's
he's
playing it
going on
safe.
the Last of Us diet where you just eat beef jerky.
Yeah, no bread, no
No
nothing
bread.
with wheat or grains in it. Definitely no mushrooms.
I did like the line when she's like, "Can I have a gun?" And they're like, "No." Well, I guess I'll just throw my sandwich at it.
Yeah, I guess I'll just throw my fucking sandwich then. Yeah. But then, and Jody also mentioned the same exact thing that you have mentioned as well. We start to see these amazing locales imagined in live action. Downtown Boston with everything bombed everywhere. We have the iconic building leaning against the other building that we saw in the first episode. But the biggest difference is we don't explore that like we do in the game, which is fine. I understand it. Um, but just again, it's why this show has gotten such. It is like it. I think I saw that this is from episode 1 to episode 2. It's gained the most viewers of any other
Well, yeah,
HBO series, um, and it is because of how well received it was for people that know the game and don't know the game.
dude,
And
they've made it available that you can demo The Last of Us Part One remake because of how many views it's got. They're trying to sell the
yeah,
game now, like so.
yeah, they're gonna make money. They're gonna make those HBO bucks, and they're gonna make video game bucks.
I'm only pissed because I just restarted the PS4 version because I didn't want to pay for it. I'm like, oh, I could have demoed it. I guess I could still demo, but I don't want to. It's gonna be the whole prologue, like the
Yeah,
you know.
yeah, got to do that whole thing again, which is the slowest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Boston QZ is the slowest part because it's like, all right, now walk. Hey, you better, fix up your arm there. Here's a tutorial on creating a med kit.
Then
Here's a
also
tutorial on running.
and ducking, going through this. You go through the with the searchlights of the military and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And all that stuff.
Yeah. So after we get the little bit of like seeing the locale, we do get our first, I'd say, big change from how it progresses in the game as compared to the show. Is we do the hotel part, which the hotel part was in Pittsburgh. Um, but I mean, the hotel in this it looks great. And we get a lot of like Ellie joking around like she does in the game because,
It
she's
was a
only
nice
seen this
touch.
stuff in books.
We get a frog playing piano too. You forgot to mention
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's actually a really big,
that.
that's a
That is
really big
very
point to make.
accurate to the game. A lot of frogs playing
A lot of
piano.
frog. Yeah, it's like the CW frog. Only in the WB.
But
Um,
to your point, I like that too because like I was telling Kat like when it first started, I'm like I really hope they have her like putzing around in the background doing stupid shit or being like, I'm trying to learn how to whistle, like when you're
yeah,
trying to sneak around.
if they had snuck to the top of those stairs and then she said, "Oh, we need to lighten things up," and then she pulls out the joke book and starts reading jokes, I would have shit my pants. Honestly, that would have been
Yeah,
amazing.
but I loved the that whole thing, where she's like ding ding, like just being a kid because Um, I did read some reviews where people obviously didn't pay attention or play the game, where they're like, "Oh, how would this kid have like a sense of humor in this dark, dreary thing? Like, and she should constantly be afraid." And it's like, well, she was born in this, so she's kind of numb to it a little bit, but she's also never really been outside. So
She's never seen anything but runners. Maybe she
yeah,
probably hadn't even seen runners at that point
so
because
she
she's
just
been in the QZ the whole time. Oh no, she did see runners. I'm sorry, because
she
at
did.
that point she'd already been bit. Yeah, but definitely not clickers.
Well, there's a point later, and I don't mean to jump ahead in the breakdown where they see a body mutilated in a way that she's never seen before. And she's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
"What? They can do that? What?" And it goes and back to what you're saying. They showed something different where Ellie's like, "What are they doing? Why?" She kept asking, "Why aren't there tons of infected running around through the abandoned city?"
Yeah, because those are the rumors she heard in the QZ. And I did like that little thing where she said, "What about ones they can like explode spores on you?" To me, that sounded like a bloater, which is something, sorry, there's other levels of infection, but they didn't react to that. So maybe in this
Oh, they did though. They looked at each other.
no, no, no. They looked at each other when she said, "What about the ones that have the head split open that can't see but hear like a bat?"
Oh
Those
yeah,
are
yeah, okay.
clickers, and they reacted to that, but they didn't react to the other one where they can explode spores. So I don't know if that was talking about bloaters or not, and they just hadn't seen one at that point.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Because the other ones we didn't really get much of. That's the ones that we mainly got within in the second one, correct? The
Yes.
the ones that are kind of like in the. I hated those
The
ones.
stalkers, yeah, we do see stalkers in the first game, but I think they're very few and far between. I think it's only in one section with Henry and Sam in like a sewer, and that's all I'll say. I think those are where stalkers are because they like hide around corners and stuff and then run at you, as opposed to runners where just they run right at you no matter what.
I like what Joe D said in the chat. He said, I
About the
loved
file cabinet, yeah.
yeah, I loved when Joel moved a filing cabinet out of the way when their path was blocked by a bunch of stuff after they moved through. And when Joel was boosting Tess up, I kept saying, hold triangle.
Yep.
I did as soon as think that too. I'm like, oh, yep, somebody's got to be, this is The Last of Us when somebody's boosting up somebody else to a different ledge to let you in somewhere else.
Yep. Yeah, I would have liked to see Tess like pull Joel up, which that was the only thing from the game. I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know if that lady would be able to pull up Joel, but maybe.
Bless me. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm infected.
Uh-oh. He's got the fungus.
Oh, that reminded me too. Like, Bella Ramsey's doing an awesome job, and if you're watching this and you're not sure of her or anything like that, and I just want to say give her a chance because I think she's gonna blossom into a really good actress by the end of this, and I think she's already doing a pretty good job. I loved when Joel was like, "I don't want to hear a," like when she starts twitching. I'll pull the trigger, and she immediately goes, and he just like looks at her like, I will fucking kill you. Like, I thought that was a nice touch. And then again, it
Yeah,
shows the
it's a
joke.
that's a trailer moment.
Yeah. Well, I just thought it was a nice, like, I don't know. I love the banter between the both of them. I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, she's definitely getting Ellie's wise ass shit down. Yeah.
And I think she's
Um,
doing a great job.
yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, so Boston, the hotel, great, great little section. I loved how Joe, like, it almost built up like she's like, I can't swim, and I know Joe D was thinking the same exact thing, and he even mentions it in the chat. Um, is Joel going to grab a pallet and pull her across the water? But no, he gets to make a joke about it only being fucking knee deep. And it's like, okay, that better not be the case the rest of the series. And Joe is right. She better get on a fucking pallet by the end of this series, or
Oh,
we
you
will
know what's
riot.
gonna happen because they're all about their little nods in this, like,
Absolutely. Yeah.
you know.
Yep.
And I love it. I love it. Nod away.
No, I mean, what this series has done, and we haven't covered it in this episode yet, but every episode so far has done like almost perfect scenes at some point, almost perfect recreations. So, and they love to include stuff from the game in it, so people can be like, you know, see that right there? That's from the game. Yeah,
Wink.
like yeah, it's like the Jim from The Office looking at the camera moment, just like, huh? Mm-hmm. Wink, wink.
Yeah, I I love it. And I can't get enough of these sets. These sets are just so amazing. The work they put into these sets is just amazing. Like, I give them all the money, HBO. They
They
definitely
are.
are. They
They are giving
definitely
them all.
are.
They're giving more money than Game of Thrones ever got per episode,
I think it was
which
like,
is which is saying a lot.
oh yeah, well, because they also got Sony money back in this too.
True.
Sony's
Very
involved,
true.
like
Yeah.
100%. This is their one of their major popular properties, so
Yeah,
they're
exactly.
like, we're gonna get involved, and this is what we need more of. Honestly, with adaptations,
Yeah, 100%. Just stick to the fucking story. The show is getting it right so far because it's sticking to the story and it's adding things in,
and the
like
person that
like the like the
go,
next thing we're going to talk about.
yeah, and the person who wrote it is a writer. Have them part of the writing staff.
Yeah, this was his baby.
Yeah,
Let him tell you how it should go.
and see,
Let
that's
him
honest.
get his ideas for expanding it into a live action series.
And honestly, that's why I don't mind the changes, because it's from the creator's brain, where he's just like, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna do this because
Hmm.
it makes more sense. Where before, yeah, he had a story, but also he was probably in some restrictions because there was also gameplay that had to be involved. In this, it's all story, baby, so he can focus more on that.
Yeah, exactly. So this next scene that we get where they're on top of the hotel looking down at their options of like how they progress to the Capitol building, and we get a little bit more of the change to the fungal infection where it's explained because we see a giant group of bodies just laying down, and at first you think like, oh, they're just a bunch of dead bodies, but then you see the sun going over them and they all start kind of reacting together, and Tess reveals that yeah, they're all connected, and even goes on to explain that like now the fungus can spread throughout the ground, which can summon groups of them if you step on the wrong thing. You step on a cordyceps like spore like a mile away, you can summon like a whole group of them that'll know exactly where you are and just come running right towards you, which is amazing because they are now jumping into more realistic science with the fungus. And we've already talked about, you know, the large fungus growth they found in the rainforest, you know, and this is the kind of the same concept. Like if they could do that with also using humans to grow that fungus, that is, if that's like real and this is like based on what could really happen, that's probably how we're all going.
Yeah.
Because what are we going to do about it?
Well, as the show would say, nothing. There's nothing
Nothing.
Edgar can do about it.
Even
And
if we bomb the shit out of everywhere, it doesn't work. It only works in some places, but not everywhere.
and that makes it so much scarier. Like, I'm wondering if in the third game they might implement that a little bit more, saying they've evolved to that. And imagine
Yeah.
like you can set off a certain area if you like step on something, or if you kill like a clicker in a certain area, and it alerts like different clickers from other areas to come mass and swarm you.
Hmm.
I don't want that. That's the game's already stressful at times anyway. So like they're
Yeah.
just, but they're gonna up the ante, you know. Oh,
Yep. Exactly.
Aria, my dog has joined us.
Dog is joined.
The dog has joined.
Nice.
Wait.
So we're finally here. We're finally here to the museum in downtown Boston,
Another great
where
set.
another great set, another really great set right from the game, with all the, the glass cases and statues all, covered in dust and just left and abandoned. Um, and we finally, and even when they climb through stuff and like the fucking ceiling falls down, it's like that. How many times does that happens so many times in the game?
Yep. They get separated in the game, but they decided to keep them together. I get it. They
Yeah.
gotta pace it a different way because it's a show now. They gotta
Yes.
end where it's not just a game. You can slowly go through everything.
Yep. And we get the big reveal of how the clickers look. And
Oh,
before we get that reveal, we hear them, we see their fucking janky
oh
walking,
my
and
god.
and it's so accurate.
Fucking awesome.
It makes me want to cry how accurate it was.
I
Because, and I think we mentioned in the first episode, they just got the people that did the mocap for the clickers in the game to come in and do the show, because hey, they kind of know how to walk like them and act like them because they did it already.
Yeah, they know. And it's crazy because, well, it's not crazy, but like it's like you said, you wanted to cry. I was so excited. Cat had to calm me down because as soon as I heard the first I was like, "Oh, yes. Like here we go." And like the
Cat,
perfect
shut up, they can hear you.
like ugh, the look, the practical effects on it, so awesome. The way that they run at them, everything was perfect. The like being right next to them and just being like, nah,
Yeah, and it was only ticked off by Ellie going, just breathing a little bit, and it immediately turned and was like, and that's how sensitive they are, which
yep.
is like it's amazing and
They,
so fucking tough to kill. Like, this isn't just throw a bottle and then swing your melee weapon once and that's the end of them like in the game. This is like, it took him like, I don't know, at least 8 to 10 handgun bullets for one of them.
we're gonna have to
And
see him
then
craft a shiv.
exactly, we should have seen him craft a shiv. That would have been great. That is coming. There's
Oh
no
yeah,
doubt in
it's
my
gotta
mind
be coming.
he's gonna find some scissors and use duct tape and craft a shiv at some point. That's happening. Come on now. um yeah, and the other one took like an axe to the head and then like some machine gun shots, which didn't mention it. I skipped over this. Thank God that they made the realistic decision to pick up the machine gun of the guy that they took out in the first episode. Because why the fuck wouldn't you do that? And I always thought that in like the game, like why can't I just pick up all of their guns instead of like it says, hey, it says he dropped some alcohol or duct tape. It's like, no, he had a gun. I want that gun.
Yeah, I replaying it. There was because they let you can only pick up certain weapons at a certain point, and there was one where a guy dropped a machine gun, and I'm like, why can't I pick up his gun, but I could pick up his partner's pistol? And I was like, but I don't want this pistol. I want that machine gun.
It's
Give me the
just
machine
right there.
gun.
Yeah, it's just there.
So yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, really good choice. Makes a lot of sense. And it wouldn't make sense for them to be like, well, I'll just take my 6 bullet revolver that I have to slowly reload.
Oh, I
Because,
like the scene where he's reloading as quietly as possible.
but it was still loud. even the bullets going in, it still brought the clicker closer to him.
Yeah, and I loved how they showed the sensitiveness where he steps on the glass.
Mm-hmm. And also being able to distract them. He knocked over that statue into a glass case, and it distracted the clicker. Just like, yeah, I'm going to throw a brick over here to distract the clicker to get around them.
Well, that's what I wanted. I wanted him to throw a brick or a bottle, like.
And it like to show like like him holding, and like you just see like the arc.
Oh, that made me think too. I was wondering if we'll get an episode where they'll make it that Joel's trying to like listen to how many clickers are in a room, and we'll get one shot for like a few seconds of like, you know how you do the
Oh, is like
listen
listen
mode.
mode? No, I don't think we're gonna get listen mode. That's a little bit too
Yeah, that's
ridiculous.
a little too video gamey. I don't think that will
Yeah,
fly very well.
listen mode, but it's fueled by his PTSD. He's like, my senses are so heightened because I miss Sarah so much. I can see through these walls.
You ever hear of Daredevil? It's pretty much like a Daredevil ability. I remember when I first played the game, I thought they were gonna explain that Joel had this like power or something, that why he has this heightened sense of hearing, but no, it has nothing,
It's just a video
no,
game thing.
nothing
That's
at
all.
all to do
No.
with any of it. And
Yeah.
I do agree with you, Joe. Yeah, the brick and bottle will be, they'll make a reference to it at some point.
Oh, the way that this show is going, they're going every single thing we know from the game is going to be referenced in some way, shape, or form. Like, yeah, like the brick and bottle thing. I wouldn't even be surprised if we see the brick and melee weapon combo, which was OP in the game, somehow make an appearance. Like he throws a bottle and then just runs up and smashes something with, I'm guessing like a 2x4, like in the game. I have no doubt in my mind that's going to happen, just based off of 2 episodes of how they're hammering in these game things, so that they're little Easter eggs that only we can catch, and they may or may not mean anything to someone that's never played the game, but they mean so much to someone that knows the game.
And that's why I just can't say how much more. I can't stop talking about how much I really, really, really like this show so far.
Yeah.
Episode 2, and it's still got me sold in.
Yep. I'm in. I'm all in. So Ellie gets bit again, and I didn't really understand the point, but I guess it kind of, it gives, because maybe they were skeptical about her initial bite being real or actually being 3 weeks. This kind of gives a new bite for them to base the infection spread off of, or something to compare it to with the end scene of the game of this episode, not the game.
I think it was just to hammer it in for new viewers that aren't familiar with the game, where like we know, because in the game, this is the main thing, where it's not really focused on as much that, oh, she's the cure. It kind of like, they talk about it in more of this episode, where if you didn't know, you know, you wouldn't have really understood it as much. So they like, just in case anyone was thinking, well, what if she gets bit again? They're just kind of hitting home like she can get bit as many times as possible and she's not going to turn. This is
Unless she gets bit, like, and they tear out her fucking neck or tear her apart, she can still
she
die.
she just dies.
She just
well,
dies.
well, Tess makes sure she knows that.
Be like, yeah, you can get bit, but you can still get fucking killed if you get torn apart by a group of them, and that ain't pretty.
And we get a lovely sound in this
Oh my god.
scene.
And that's why this show is so great, because during the scuffle, Tess rolls her ankle, and they literally use electrical tape to tape her leg up, and the sound effect is just from the video game. The same sound effect you hear when like Joel is like wrapping his fucking arm up or something. It's just yes, do that.
It's just telling you, by the way, the medical kit that Joel uses in the game, it's electrical tape.
Yeah, it's just tape. Uh,
And we get a very
so good.
iconic shot in this too, when
Yeah,
Ellie's walking across the plank.
Yep, it's the shot where they can see the Capitol building, and Joel and Ellie standing next to each other, and she's like, "Well, can't beat that view." And that's that's from the game. The over the shoulder shot, what she says, like what Joel does immediately after as they walk away. Joel in the game, like because of what she said, he looks down at his watch, and it's a subtle thing in the game, and it's the same thing in the show. He looks down at his watch like a sudden thing that like reminded him of Sarah, and that's like the building blocks of like her, you know, filling that void in his trauma.
Yeah, it always goes back to that watch.
Fucking watch.
But yeah, the nods in here are just amazing. And when they said that, and sorry folks, I meant to actually upload the side by side image because I did screenshot it, and I slacked on that. But it's just amazing the loyalties that they're taking for this amazing game. Like, even playing it again, I'm just like, oh, this game is so awesome. I'm being a little bit more ruthless because, like, I think when I first played it, I was scared of everything. I'm like, well, I gotta avoid everything. I've been trying to be like, I wonder if I could try to
Yeah.
kill everything in this room.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I did
Unlike
not.
earlier difficulties, you can definitely kill
Oh yeah,
everything. Absolutely.
and I did not know about that bottle thing until you told me about it, and it's been very helpful.
Yeah, it doesn't work. It doesn't work as well in the remake. They nerfed it, so it's not just in the before remake. Every version you could do that for almost every single enemy. I don't know if you can do it for bloaters. I don't think so.
I don't think so.
That would make no
No
sense.
way.
Um, but for runners and clickers, throw a bottle or brick and one swing of your melee weapon, and it's an insta kill. But you have to be running at them so you throw the bottle, run at them, swing, insta death.
Well, I do.
Just
I
not in the remake.
Speaking of bloaters, I real quick want to bring up, like, clickers are great. I I don't know if it's just in the trailer, but I really hope that it was just the bloater coming up is more CGI. I really hope they go as practical with the bloaters.
I
I'm
think they
really
will.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the full body, see how it moves. You know, I'm only nervous. I think they're gonna knock it out of the park, but I'm only nervous because there's only certain things that they can do. Like,
Yeah, but I think if they are already doing all of these sets to be accurate, the clickers are all practical. I think that they will, because there's not a lot of bloaters that they have to show in the
true,
series. There's
very
not a
true.
lot of them in the first game or even the second game. So you just need to, I think you're right. I think it's just because it's climbing out of an explosion or fire. Yeah, they have to do that practically. Because if
Yeah.
this person's wearing a like a suit, it's
You
just gonna
don't want
fuse
them
to their skin.
if they're
I mean, it'll
actually by
look cool.
fire, so that makes sense.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see a bloater. I really can't. I'm so excited to fucking
yeah,
see more infected.
yeah. So, final scene in this episode is the reveal at the Capitol building, which is done a little bit differently in the
Major
game.
change. Major
Yeah, and
change.
yeah, exactly. Major change, but I think it makes a little bit more sense. The Fedra soldiers were more, around quarantine zones, protecting them, doing, stuff like that. So it makes sense that it's not Fedra soldiers that made their way all the way to the middle of a restricted area downtown Boston. That it's infected that took out the Fireflies, and it's infected that come after them and break into the Capitol building at the end of the episode. I think
And,
that actually makes a little bit more sense.
and it's not a major change that affects the story really. Like, the soldiers really don't have anything to do with the major story or anything like that. Like, whenever they run into them, it's mainly because they're out of a quarantine zone, and that's why they're attacking them.
Yeah.
Like, so the change here is fine because before it was, well, we need some action. We need some uh
Yeah. What better
well,
way to pick up next episode by having them just being chased by fucking a horde of infected? That's going to be amazing.
yeah, it makes more sense in that way. So I'm 100% okay with this change.
Oh,
It
although
really
they blew
did.
up the building.
Huh?
Never mind. I said, although they blew up the building, I
Yeah.
almost forgot about that. Yeah. So probably not going to be chased by infected. Probably not.
Well, yeah. Well, at some point they will, but not from here.
Yeah. Um,
Because
because what?
I'm handing it to you, being like, because what
Oh,
happens?
well, we do get the reveal that Tess is infected. Just like the game, like shows the thing. Oops. Guess our luck had to run out sometime, right, Joel?
I
Then
thought they were
like,
almost going to say it was the ankle because the way when he was doing it, Joel was doing it for Tess, and Tess, when he was going up, she was like, I got it. And I thought they were going to make this change that it was going to be the ankle, but they didn't. And I'm glad they didn't do that.
yeah. And then the whole thing with like going over to Ellie, showing the infection, like, this is real. This is 3 weeks. This just happened and it's already worse. Like, yes, all of that.
Now, Kat
Um,
was wondering why her tone like changed, why she like was like, if she knew she was bit, why did she continue on, and why was she like so adamant about being there? And I was like, well, she probably thought maybe if they had Ellie, they could be like, oh, here's a cure, here you go. Like, you know, these people are desperate, like, and especially if you get bit, you're gonna be like, you could tell like Tess's tone changed drastically.
yeah,
um
from the end of the museum scene to then, she was hurrying them around because as they showed in the first episode where they showed the kid who had gotten bit when they were first like talking to them, it showed a chart and it said if you're bit in the upper torso, the infection starts within like an hour or two.
mhm.
You know, if it's the leg, it's like 12 hours or so. So, I mean, you'd have to assume that from the museum to the Capitol, it's probably at least an hour. So she was thinking she's most likely either halfway there or almost fully changing, which gets into the weird choice they made right before she blows up the building. But I kind of, based off of what I just said, where she's, I looked at it as she's almost completely infected or almost to the point where she's like going to change or have it completely take over her. Because what do we get, Andrew? I'd like to hear your explanation of what
Ugh.
happens in the scene.
First, I'm gonna say that like this scene could have gone so many different ways, and I thought this choice was very strange. And in my opinion, this is probably the only problem I had with this episode. So Tess like tells him to go, and you think that we're gonna get a kiss scene between her and Joel, and I love how Joel just stares at her, listens to her, and she's like, "Go do this." Like, I forget what the line was exactly, but she says like, do some good because they're like, look at all the shitty things we've done. And
Mm-hmm.
Joel just immediately books it with Ellie, and Ellie's like pissed because she doesn't want it. She like Tess more than him. And we get the runners coming in, and of course, she put gasoline and grenades everywhere. So I'm gonna get into this problem in a bit after I talk about the weird fucking scene we got. Runners break in, and they kind of run back because I think they can sense she's infected. And then there's just this one that's extra creepy looking, and she gets extra scared and just stares at him as this one starts walking closer slowly with like the things coming out, and then they French kiss. And it was,
Well, I won't. I don't. She didn't stick her tongue out, Andrew.
but she
uh,
looked like at this guy like she knew him. We were like, Kat even was like, is that someone that we know? And I'm like, I don't think so, but it was such an awkward fucking scene. And she's got a lighter in her hand. By the way, Josh, I found out that they designed a lighter to be the exact same lighter they used from Uncharted 4 in the video game. So this is why we got this lighter scene, because like, what was the point? She had grenades. Why didn't she just pick up a grenade and pull the pin?
Andrew, I didn't even think of that. I didn't
Like,
even think that at all.
and just hold it, and then boom. But nope, they had to have Nate's fucking lighter.
Yeah, and fucking yeah. I
And
don't
what was
know.
up with that guy, that clicker? What was up with him?
I don't know. So I honestly think that if she had been like running and freaking out, they probably would have ran over and attacked her like a normal runner was. But I think because she was subdued and she also had like an advanced infection, they probably were like, oh, okay, you're part of this. Let me just top you off so that you're completely under control of the cordyceps. And that's how they transfer it like that. Because we saw that in the first episode, the old lady was transferring the fungus via the mouth into the mouth of like the person she was living with. So I mean that maybe that's just how they transfer it. Um, I don't know. I think it was a bit weird, a
I
bit
thought
weird. But your point about why didn't she just drop a grenade makes such perfect sense, and I didn't even think about that.
it was just like Naughty Dog being like, "Hey, we should reference Uncharted. Like we should get Nate Slider in there." And like I think we talked about it before this. She looked at that guy like it was her ex-boyfriend.
Yeah,
Like like
Jeremy, is that you?
like
What are you
she
doing here? I thought I left you in Detroit. We're gonna get that first kiss. Oh,
you, you
there's some
never
mushrooms in there.
you never kissed me goodbye. Like none of the other ones react, and this one kind of like takes lead, and I just felt like it kind of took away from the whole moment, where I think it would have been more impactful if they all surround her. Again, the grenade move would have been so much cooler. And so much instead she's like, let me make out with you while I try to flick this lighter.
Mm. Yeah, I think the show's just going for disturbing.
And she should have
It's
known. If she saw that Uncharted movie, Tom Holland had a lot of trouble with that lighter. That whole
yeah,
movie, that
that's
was the
true. Yeah. Well, luckily the infection started in 2003, so that movie wasn't out for another
I don't even think the
18
game
years.
either, where they really focus on the lighter.
Yeah, Uncharted 4 didn't come out until like 2018, 2019, I think. Maybe even before then.
Yeah. So that's my only thing. Like it just
But
made
like I said, and I think Jody even confirmed it, it's like that's how the it transfers. It transfers via orally or if they bite you. And if she had been super aggressive and fighting back, they probably would have tried to bite her. But they didn't. They just looked at it like they probably looked at it like she's just a corpse. She's not moving. And that's what they do. They find a corpse. Oh, they don't have a lot of spores in them. Let me put some spores in them.
I guess that makes sense. I just wish they did it
But yeah,
a
also
better.
they wanted to gross people out a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh, it was
that's what they're gonna do. They're gonna keep doing scary stuff and grossing people out with shit, and that's just they got to
well,
have that angle of it.
I watched the episode again, so I was like watching it, and they pause on it a little. Like we get a good shot of him like deep throating her with those things. Like I'm like, I wonder how it's feeling in her body. Like, can she feel it? It's like you know.
Take some dry mushrooms and just slowly jam them into your mouth.
They look moist, the tendrils, like the little moisty boys.
Yeah. Well, I'm saying put the dry ones in there.
Oh, okay.
You
Those are
can
the
you can you
those
can moist them up if you
those are
want.
the
That's
fun
fine.
ones.
Those are the fun ones. Yeah.
Take them with some orange juice.
Yeah. Or put them in a peanut butter sandwich. Yep. You're right.
But yeah, that's pretty much how that episode ends.
Yep. Capitol building explodes. Ellie's left standing there, contemplating her losses so far.
Yeah, and like I thought it was great. Besides that scene, I was a little, and we discussed it too. Like, what was making sure? Yeah, we also hear the song "Allowed to Be Happy," which is an exclusive track from The Last of Us 2. So that was nice too. Like, and when I
Yep.
heard that, I immediately had like, because they usually play that after something really fucked up happens in the game, and then you hear the doo doo doo. And you know what? Should I play it for that? What I'm talking about, just in case people didn't hear it in our intro before. Let me just a little bit. And I forgot Josh can't hear it. And you usually hear this when like it'll cut to the next scene and you're like, whoo. which is really good. But I stopped playing it because Josh can't hear it. But I thought the
Sounds
episode
great.
I thought the episode was done well. I love the sets. Um, I'm wondering if we're gonna see like I noticed these beginning flashbacks if they're gonna be more prominent in every single beginning of the episode where they're
Like we get a
fine
little bit more of maybe
explanation
like
of things.
yeah, like maybe the next episode it kind of shows what another country did to react to it. Because we saw like it starts in Jakarta, Indonesia, and then what happens when, like the US realizes it's happening there? Like, do they make the same decisions to just immediately start dropping bombs, or do they try to use the military first kind of thing? Or maybe it's gonna be because the trailer shows that you're getting Nick Offerman's Bill, so maybe the intro is a prologue to get us up to where Joel and Ellie meet Bill,
Yeah.
and it's just like what happens, like how he gets to that point, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think I'm wondering if we're gonna even get like they're just gonna use it to explain more stuff they don't explain the game. We're like, I wonder if we're gonna even get like a reference on why Ellie's immune. If we're gonna get something at some point, if they'll explain it. I kind of hope they don't because I do like in the game that we just don't know and it's just a mystery.
Hmm.
That it might be random. But Josh, you did talk about the next preview, and we've decided to play the preview and discuss and break it down before we end this episode. So Josh can see it. I'm going to share my screen before playing it. So here we go. And here's the trailer.
Not today, you New World Order jackboot.
My name's Frank.
Here's the thing, Frank. If I feed you, then every bum you talk to about it is gonna show up here looking for a free lunch. And this is not an Arby's.
Well, Arby's didn't have free lunch. It was a restaurant.
Sooner or later, there'll be raiders. They'll come at night, quiet, and armed.
Call Joel. We'll be fine.
Yep. I like Nick Offerman as Bill already, and I think so. I'm wondering if this episode's gonna be all flashback and we're getting to Bill's, and they're not gonna interact with Bill till episode 4, or if that's just gonna be a whole flashback beginning. Because we're getting a little bit more, unlike the game, it seems like, of Joel's
Frank.
Of Frank, because we don't
Yeah.
really know much about Frank unless you like read stuff that's like lying around where you're.
Yeah, they allude to them being partners, maybe more, but they don't actually go into it in the game because Bill's alone when we meet him, so to say. So it would be good to get a little bit more backstory of Bill and Frank. Oh, Joe D, your comment. I don't even want to read it.
Nope.
I don't want to read that.
Saving that spoiler for the next episode.
That's good though. That's good though.
Oh, it's clever.
Yeah,
Very clever.
it's true. It's true. Very true. Accurate.
I'm sorry,
Yeah,
we
we
don't. We're not
don't.
going to tell you.
No, we're not. We're not.
because we don't know how they're going to do it in the next episode. So
Exactly. I would like to get more of, because in the game, Bill's already got this city on lockdown, traps everywhere. He's crazy at this point, pretty much. So I'd like to see it. How did he get to that point? What did him and Frank go through to get to that point? Because that trailer it showed, how he meets Frank, It also shows what looks like raiders attacking the town, and he has all these defenses. Like it looked like a flamethrower, like an automatic flamethrower hit somebody on one of the fences, and one of the fences was electrified and stuff like that. So I wonder if we're also going to get like the explosive traps like he has set up all over the city in the game. I guess that's a little bit of spoiler, but fuck it.
Which funny, replaying the game multiple times, my game glitched a little bit where Ellie was just walking through the traps after I like went through them, and she was just setting them off behind me. And my
Nice.
I'm like, okay, what the fuck? But yeah, it looks like too, because we do get that scene where Joel and him are together, and I'm pretty sure that's Frank and Tess in the background. So I'm pretty sure that's like we're gonna get like. That's why I'm thinking this may be a whole episode flashback, and I think we're gonna have Ellie asking questions about Bill as they're getting there, and the final scene might be where, you know, when they first meet Bill in the game, like, and then
Could
we're gonna
be.
get. That's my opinion, because I also don't want them to rush it. I don't want them to rush it because I think
Yeah.
Nick off. I love that Arby's joke in the trailer.
Yeah,
This
it's
isn't-
all right.
This isn't a fucking Arby's. Like, Arby's didn't get free lunch. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
I mean, I kind of thought that they'd have each episode be like one of the sections in the game. It kind of felt like that was the pacing. Like next episode is Bill's, and then we get Pittsburgh, and then we get, you know, from Pittsburgh it's Tommy's, and then, you know, the university, and so on and so forth, kind of thing.
That's why I'm kind of.
But it'd
hoping
be
it's
good if
not
they did
overly
break it up.
rushed.
It would be good if they broke it up a bit, because we could do flashbacks and build up why it showed him asking for them to contact Joel, because maybe the Raiders, some of them get through and injure Bill, and then the next episode picks up and, you know, Bill's injured, so he can't take Ellie out west,
No.
but he can help you get transportation, like in the game, and then we maybe do the school part, which would be pretty cool.
Pretty cool. Yeah, I'm very excited for next week's episode. I love Nick Offerman, so I think he's a good casting choice in this, you know, and Bill's like one of the most interesting characters in the game. So I'm very happy to see how they're going to portray this. And I want to know more about Bill. And that's what I think I like about this show, is that we get to find out a little bit more of everything else that they kind of brushed over in the game because they had to make up for gameplay. Like,
Yeah.
being like, we can't drag certain things out because we have to focus on gameplay.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited for episode 3. But I think that covers it. Anything else, Josh, that we might have missed?
No, I think we went over
Yep.
pretty much everything
Over our time frame
on
this.
purpose.
Yeah, we've learning these are probably going to be a little bit of an hour, maybe a little bit over. Some may be shorter, but you know, I think we covered a good amount on this one. So if this is your first time watching it, we do normally a podcast where we discuss all things video games, movies, series, and music. Which brings us up to this Saturday. We will be recording our discussion on our top favorite Mega Man songs. So make sure you check that out. In the description. If I don't know if I can do it on Twitch, but I will be doing it if you're watching this on YouTube. I'll be putting in the description where you can listen to our podcast as well as our social media platforms and everything. I also wanted to make a shout out. I forgot to put this on here. I'm new at this, people, with the whole thing. But music, Josh's music playing in the background, was created by our friend Sam Mulligan. So you should check him out. He's a chiptune artist, and he's amazing at everything he does.
And handsome.
And handsome as a motherfucker.
Oh yeah.
So, but thanks for checking us out. Definitely check out the other show. Well, this is the same show, but check out our other episodes. And, oh, Josh, we have an episode coming out this week where we discussed Cyberpunk 2077's Edge Runners. That'll be coming
First
out.
couple episodes.
First couple episodes. They'll be coming out this Friday. So we got content coming at you all sorts of directions. But check us out next week where we discuss episode 3 of The Last of Us. I'm Andrew Gonzalez.
And I'm Josh Edgington.
See you next week.
Bye, Jody.
Bye, Joe.